Here we go.
Do it.
Okay, cool.
Here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Coffin Talkin, where we unravel the mysteries, embrace the peculiar, and find humor in the unconventional world of funerals and death. I'm here in the same room as Frank, our mortician.
Thanks, Holly. I love the fact that I'm everyone's mortician.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Great to know that is happening.
Uh-huh.
So, hi, Coffiners. Hope you're doing well. Holly, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. This week, we had some exciting updates. We bought a car, and it was the first big purchase of our married lives, so that was really exciting.
And scary.
And scary, yes. But we love the car. We got a Equinox, Chevy Equinox. So I don't want to hear any hate from people who don't like Chevy Equinoxes. This is directed towards one of my brothers, not the one you guys know, but who texted me, "No," in all caps.
No!
But we love it. And it's new and it's low miles. It seems like the perfect car for us. So we're really excited.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. And it runs well.
It runs very well.
We've been around in it for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Driving around in it. So
Yeah.
it's very nice.
Yeah, we've loved it so far.
It's fantastic. And here I'm in town for a family reunion. So it'll be good to see some of the family. Hopefully everyone will be there. I don't know that everyone will be. Not everyone makes family reunions, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have a good time that we can at least associate with one another, catch up on old times, and just kind of see what everybody's doing.
But when was the last time you did a family reunion?
The last one I went to, there's one every year.
What?
Yeah, there's one every year, but the last one I went to was probably 4 years ago.
I didn't know they did one every year.
They try and do one every year. And it's usually right here.
Right here.
In Utah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it.
So it'll be fun. And it seems as though the Kirbys have taken it over, which is a good thing. I have a sister that kind of tries to spearhead it, but she's getting up in years as well. And so it's very interesting to see who takes the bull by the horns and just decides to do what they're going to do for the next year. And whoever can come, comes.
Yeah.
It's not like it's, we're sorry, we're going, well, he's not going to come again. We're not going to miss him.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Oh, Frank's coming?
Yeah.
Oh.
See, that may be a detractor to a lot of people.
It's just going to be you and your twin.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Maybe our wives.
Yeah. Well, that'll be really
Some
fun.
of our children.
I'm excited to go and see everyone. Yeah.
So it'll be good.
The last one I went to, was that the last one you went to?
Which one was that?
I don't know. It was a couple of years ago. I remember we had chips. That's all I remember.
Wow. Okay. And we aren't talking California Highway Patrol.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, this is my family. I know that in our family with our children and stuff, we try and have some sort of a reunion that all of our kids can go to. But this one is actually my siblings and their families and whoever can come from our families. It's just a matter of catching up.
And how many siblings do you have?
I have 8.
Okay.
And one has passed away.
Mm-hmm.
But so of the 7, I think only 6 will be there, is what I'm guessing.
That's still a really good turnout for 8.
Yeah, it is. It may be 5. I don't know if the oldest will be there or not. But hopefully he will be.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, anything else happening this week?
Nothing major.
Nothing major. Anything minor that you would care to share?
No. I don't have anything minor.
I don't think so.
No, I'm doing good.
Everything's
going well. Just got over sickness.
Yes.
Which was terrible.
You're
then
sounding great
Yes,
now.
and then Lisa got it. And so, or FL.
Got it.
Yeah, got it. And so she is still into sore throat and sniveling mode, but she's here with us, so that's good.
Yeah, so she could be just L instead of FL if she would make an appearance and say,
just walk through the room and say hello. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, Coffiners. So sorry.
We've tried. We're
going to keep trying, though. One of these days, we'll trick her into it.
That's right.
But also, last note of business, because this is business, you won a spirited round of mini golf yesterday. Last night.
I did, by one stroke.
By one stroke.
And since I haven't done it for years, it was quite exhilarating.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to keep my my emotions down in check. Didn't want to gloat too much.
Didn't want to gloat, but also mini golf king. That's something to be proud of.
I don't know about mini golf king, but it was fun to finally play.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't played it for years.
Well, also in Arizona, it's so hard to play because
it's hot.
It has to be indoors.
Or a winter. It becomes a winter activity.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And if it's indoors, the indoor courses are never as good as the outdoor courses.
We talked about it. We have to, the indoor, they feel like they have to paint everything neon colors. And so it gets a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you wear white.
Okay.
You're wearing white. And so everybody sees you. And so that's fantastic anyway. Yeah. Your shoes shine. And
Yeah. Just from personal experience, Coffiners, if you're ever doing anything neon indoors, do not wear a white shirt. It's a mistake. And no one tells you it's going to be a mistake. So there you have it.
Until you look back at pictures or what? It's all good.
Yeah, but I think that about covers it. So we will go ahead and let's be frank.
Okay, Coffiners. Today I want to tell you the story of something that has always impacted me, and I've always thought back and reflected back upon. Because once that happened, I couldn't really explain what was going on or what exactly how it took place. But hopefully, my explanation of what took place and how it took place will help you get a visual. And when we go to YouTube and we get that up and running where you actually have visuals, we'll go ahead and place. Maybe I'll put a map up and Holly can put it on the Instagram. But again, this was a facility in which I was living, and it was upstairs. I was not on call, and I was looking forward to getting a good night's sleep when I hear some rattling in the back, and I'm thinking, oh, someone's just brought in someone that's passed away. And so usually I can hear, once someone has come into the building, I can hear them leave. Well, I waited, and you guys at Coffiners have been in this situation before where you'll hear a noise and you expect it to end when someone leaves the house, or you can hear someone come in and say, okay, they're just here for a moment, then they'll leave, and you wait for that moment to where the sound happens to where they leave. This sound never came. And so I was sitting, waiting, and so probably a half hour had gone by, and I thought, surely, because I was on call for embalming, not for the pickups, but I thought that if the body was to be embalmed, someone should have come to the house or to the apartment and knocked on the door and let me know that, in fact, the individual was to be embalmed. Because,
again, you were living above the mortuary, is that right? Or was it on the same floor?
It was on the same floor as the prep room.
Okay.
But it was, I was living in the mortuary at the time. And so I was just kind of relaxing, watching a late movie and just waiting for the phone call. And that's the terrible thing in this business, is that you always wait for the phone call to happen. And when it doesn't happen, you're exhausted the next day and you just don't have enough. You just didn't get enough rest. So anyway, I heard the noise of someone coming into the building, and my apartment, my exterior door was to a hallway that would lead to the prep room. And again, this is the facility where you actually had to stand and physically reach up and press a buzzer that would allow you to go in and out of the prep room. And so I was waiting for that. It never happened, but I did hear the cooler door open. And our cooler at the time would hold about 60 individuals that had passed away. And we kept it at about 40, between 37, maybe 35 and 40 degrees. It was very cold.
And was the cooler in the prep room?
No, it's outside.
Okay.
So so if I leave my apartment I have to go down and especially at night, I have to go down a very dark hallway, which we'll get to here in just a minute. A very dark hallway, and it's about 50 paces. And so by the time I get to the end of the hallway, there's the light switch, which is by the prep room door that I could turn on, which would then illuminate. To my left would be the cooler. To my right, the prep room, each having a doorway that you actually had to physically open to get into. And so I remember specifically because there was a little bit of a creak on the cooler door, and I thought for sure that I heard that cooler door open when I had heard the noise, and just waiting for either someone to knock on my door saying, "Hey, this person needs to be embalmed by the morning," or just so you know, brought someone in. And I don't know why they feel like they have to check with me, but they normally did. But I never heard that individual leave. And again, that's the elevator that was also in that same area that would bring individuals up and down from floor to floor. And so once the elevator would open, there was a little ding. Once it would close, there was a little ding. So you knew that someone was using the elevator. Go ahead, Holly.
And just to clarify for coffiners, this is not the same mortuary as Free Hoodie.
It is not.
Okay, so there was an elevator, but it was not the one that you had to physically close the doors. Nope. It was a normal elevator.
This was a more modern elevator. So now let's get into the story. So I hear the noise of what I thought was the cooler opening up and closing. And I waited 15, 20 minutes, and I didn't hear that ding of the elevator to go back down. Nothing. There was nothing else. So I opened my door to go out to the back room down this 50-foot hallway, which is, again, at this time of night, probably 11:30, dark. And I remember walking down the hallway and thinking to myself, why is it so dark if someone's here? So I was just walking cautiously to the back. And then I started thinking, well, maybe I didn't hear what I thought I heard. So I went on ahead and turned on the light, opened the prep room door with the buzzer, walked in. No one was in there, completely dark. Opened, turned on the lights. Everything was as it should have been. Closed the door, walked back towards the cooler, and I heard what sounded like a thud inside the cooler. And I thought to myself, is someone inside the cooler? And why wouldn't they have turned the light on before they walked into the cooler, right, making them turn it off when they left the cooler? That was my thought process. So I got really nervous. And so I just said, hello, anyone in there?
And were you the only one living in this mortuary?
Yes, there was only one apartment.
So if someone were to come in, it was them dropping off a body and then they would leave.
Right. That is correct. Or unless it needed to be embalmed and they knew that it needed to be embalmed, they would talk to me as the embalmer and say, hey, this body needs to be embalmed by morning. So none of that occurred. And so I went on ahead and I went to the cooler door, and I put my ear to the door, and then I looked at across from the cooler on the wall, just adjacent to the door going into the prep room. Again, I'm sorry about you're going to have to get this visual. There was a huge grease board, and on the grease board, it had two colors, black and blue. And the black and blue signified specific items. Number one, the black would start out, an individual would start on the board as blue, but would turn to black once the family had been met with and we knew what the arrangement process was going to be. So I looked at the board, and there were the two colors, black and blue, and the board had been fairly full. And so I just thought, well, there's a lot of bodies in this cooler. Why am I hearing a thud? So no one was responding to me as I was asking if anyone was in the cooler. So I opened the cooler, and there was everyone on shelves. And I thought to myself, well, okay, no one's moving. There's no mishap here happening right now. So I'm going to go ahead and do what everyone should do, and that is do a head count. So I counted all the individuals in the cooler, and I think at the time there was 40. And I looked back at the board, and I counted, and there was 39. Oh. So I go, okay, so I've got a body in the cooler, right? This is math. I've got one body in the cooler that has not been accounted for and placed on the board.
And is that just like, that would never happen, right? You put a body in the cooler, you're going to put them on the board.
That's policy.
Right.
That's what should be happening. Uh-huh. So I immediately started going through, and everything, according to the grease board, the rack A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and each one has 4 racks on it. So if you looked at rack A, and there's 4 bodies on there. Though there had better be 4 names on that on the grease board with the same names. So I started going through, and I took a piece of paper and I started writing names down. And I went through each rack, and I would walk back outside, and finally I got to the rack where there was one individual placed there that was not on the grease board. And I started under my breath thinking, what in the world? You guys know the policy. Someone's going to get in trouble for this.
Yeah.
And so I went out and I went to write the name on the grease board in black.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I closed the door, I heard another thud.
So you've now left the cooler.
I've now left the cooler.
Close the door. You're hearing a noise inside the cooler.
That is correct.
That you've just gone through and examined everything.
All individuals inside there. Everyone is accounted for except for the one. And there was one in there that should not have been there that was not recorded on the grease board on the outside. So I closed the door. I hear the thud. I opened the door thinking that someone was in there playing a joke. And one of the bodies was now off the shelf on the floor.
Oh, my gosh.
And I thought to myself, hold it, the body wasn't on the floor when I just came through here, and I just barely left not 30 seconds ago.
Right.
So I went to the board, and it was the board, the name of the individual that I had to physically put on the grease board.
That was the name.
That was the person that was now on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
So I not immediately, but cautiously went to the individual that was now on the floor, and I checked for a pulse.
Yeah, because I mean that's the thing.
Right? Are they alive? And
how did they get on the floor?
That's exactly right, and that was my frame of thought. But I couldn't find a pulse. I checked the neck. I checked the wrist. I checked the rising and falling of the chest to see if there was anything going on there. Nothing was happening. This individual had actually, they
were dead.
Yes, for all intent and purposes, they were dead. So I thought to myself, how would I get him off the floor, and how to move him back up onto the shelf? Well, the only thing I could do was move a lift that we had in the back area that we used for dressing individuals to go ahead and put him on that lift because all the gurneys were gone. So there was no way I had a gurney to place him on that I could lower to the ground and put him on and then lift him to the shelf level and put him on the shelf.
Right.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Was he face up or face down?
Face up. He was on his back.
He was on his back.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what level of shelf was he on?
He was second from the bottom.
Okay.
So he would have been elevated probably 18 inches, maybe 20.
Yeah. And I guess just to clarify for coffiners, these shelves that they're on, they're typically metal, right?
Yep.
But it's not like they're slippery.
Mm-mm.
Nothing. I mean, I've never heard of a body falling off a shelf. It would be, I mean, sometimes it's an endeavor to transfer them from the shelf to a gurney.
Or vice versa.
Yes.
Yep.
Because it's not made that they're going to slip off of it.
So just so you know, on the shelving units, they are usually sanded just a little bit to make the shiny rough. And so once that shelving unit becomes rough, it does create an adherence to the sheet that the person is generally wrapped in to be placed on the shelf. So it's almost like a Velcro motion or method. So that is a good point. I had thought that, well, how did he get to the floor? And so anyway, we went looking for this lift and I couldn't find the lift. And all of a sudden I just went to the door, opened it up, and I was thinking to myself, what in the world? How can I get him from the floor? Because he's heavy. He's about 180 pounds, and I don't want to deadlift, no pun intended, an individual off the floor and try and lift him 20 to 24 inches onto a shelf because I could really hurt my back.
Yeah, truly. I mean,
I have to have something.
Yeah. When they say dead weight, it's no joke.
It is.
Dead weight is so heavy.
It is truly
tough to maneuver.
And so when I opened the door, I was shocked because the body was no longer on the floor.
What?
But the body was standing.
What?
Standing.
Ooh.
And I immediately, I slammed the door closed. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is Ralph. But then I thought, I've already checked that body. That isn't my supervising embalmer who liked to play jokes on me. It is not him.
Yeah, you felt his pulse.
That's right. There was no pulse.
Right.
And so I went on ahead. I closed the door and I ran to my apartment and I thought, surely I'm missing something. Someone has, and I waited to see if I could hear that refrigerator door open up, and it never did. I waited for the elevator to ding. It never did. So finally I had to go back out there and find out what was going on. So,
Holy cow.
So I walked to the cooler, opened the door. No one in that cooler. No one standing. No one on the floor. No one on the shelf.
The body was just gone.
The body was just gone. And I looked back at the grease board that I had just put the name on the board. It was no longer there. And there was a red X across that shelf unit.
Oh my god.
And now trust me when I say this, when I say black and blue was the only dry erase markers that were ever allowed to be used on that marker, on that board, where did the red marker come from?
And it was a marker?
Dry erase marker, red. And it was written right across where that body would have been. So there was that red dry erase marker sitting on that space that I had just written a name on. The name was removed. The X was on the spot.
And so you couldn't find that red marker anywhere?
Couldn't find the red marker. Couldn't find the individual.
There was never, oh my God.
There was nothing. No indication that someone had even gone through that cooler. So what did I do? I had to go through and do an inventory once again.
Are you serious?
I had to. Because I was in my own mind, I was thinking something's playing with my mind to where I don't know what's happening, and I need to make sure that I now have an accurate account of everyone that's in the cooler.
Oh my gosh, I would have gotten out of there as fast as I could. Are you kidding?
When I walked into the cooler, it wasn't the chill from the cold air. There was something else there.
It was your spidey sense.
Something else was giving me a chill that I shouldn't be in there.
Oh my gosh.
So I just did a real fast count. I just did, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you know how you do a real fast count?
Yeah.
And you think, oh, I've already done that. I know what space is missing. That's where you were.
Uh-huh.
And I walked back to the board, made the count. The numbers coincided. And I just thought, okay, I'm closing the door.
We're done.
Closed the door. I said, I'm done. And I walked back. I turned the light off. I just walked back in a lit hallway back to my apartment.
Well, yeah.
And then I just sat there on my bed. And I just waited.
The whole night, I'm sure.
Yep, for noises. And so I just waited, and I did not hear another thing. But as you think about it, what in the world would have been in that cooler? What could have physically made the change on the grease board to take a name off and put an X? Does that just tell me that, okay, yeah, I was here, but I'm not anymore, so don't count me? And where did the red come from?
Oh
we never had red grease dry erase markers in that building.
Right.
It was black and blue.
Uh-huh.
And so when I saw the red, that's the first thing I thought, where did the red come from? And then I started focusing on the X, wondering, what in the world is going on here? So in a long story short, I guess that when you live in mortuaries like that and you're used to certain sounds and events going on, and all of a sudden something happens that isn't in the realm of normal for actual motions going on and stuff like that in the building, I just looked at it. I just thought to myself, and I remember walking to the elevator and opening it, and it was on my floor. So that means something happened to where it was brought from the ground floor to my floor. Something
gosh.
So I opened the cooler, or I hit the button to open the elevator, and it opened immediately. No one was in the elevator. Nothing was in the elevator. But it was on my floor.
Had made the elevator go up to your floor.
Yeah, and nothing would have been on my floor if someone did not come up, because it doesn't come up unless we're ready to take a body down to a floor for viewing.
Right.
But it was sitting right there waiting to go, and I couldn't find a gurney that would have brought a body in. Couldn't find the individual. And so, I found the individual. He just chose not to stick around.
Oh my gosh.
So I have no idea what transpired. Now, in all honesty, if you walk back down the hallway towards my apartment, you could immediately turn right. There to the left would be the restroom and the shower area that I used, but you would continue, and to the right were some stairs that would take you down into the mortuary.
Okay.
So you didn't have to take the elevator.
Yeah.
But there's a gate across there that's always locked at night. Whenever I go into my apartment at night, I always lock that gate, and the gate was still locked. So there's no way someone would have come through that hallway without my hearing and open that gate to get down the stairs. They had to have used the elevator, which was still on my floor.
And you said that the elevator dings, so you would have heard the elevator.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
So this is one of the stories that I've always reflected upon and have wondered, what in the world did I just experience? What kind of activity was actually taking place that I needed to be aware of, or why did it happen? And the most odd thing for me, individual on the floor, check again. Now that individual is standing. And now
before that, individual on the shelf.
Yeah, he was on the shelf.
Then standing.
And then gone.
And just a clarifying thing, again, I've been in a lot of coolers. You can't hide in any of them. There is no space that you wouldn't have been able to see someone.
That's right.
So one would have been able to hide, and you wouldn't have been able to hide a body in there.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
There is one cooler that could probably let that happen, and that is a cooler downtown Phoenix that holds probably 400. Yeah.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
huge. And I've seen it completely full.
Holy cow.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the story on that one. I don't know exactly how you want to end that one, or what other questions you may have regarding that.
I have so many questions regarding that. Okay, so
there's more detail in the story, by the way. And anyway, I keep saying that, and I shouldn't keep saying that, but there is more detail in the story.
Well, I've heard this story before, but you never told me that the body was standing at one point.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I left out of the main. Well, when I tell stories, because I want to make sure that there's always a catch.
Yeah.
When you read the story,
right?
So yeah,
holy cow. Okay, so when the individual was standing, was he facing you? Where was he facing?
I have no idea.
Was he wrapped up?
He was wrapped up.
So
and
you
it's like
couldn't
the sheet
see
was
him.
over. The sheet was draped over his head. It was almost like a ghost that you would imagine a ghost.
Like a ghost outfit for Halloween. You put a sheet over your head sort of thing.
Do you want to know the name I put on the board?
Casper.
No.
What?
This was a real name.
Oh, what was it?
And if you're out there and you played this joke, thank you so much, but I don't think it was a joke. Randy Meadows.
Randy Meadows.
That was the name that was on his name tag, on his toe tag.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I knew he wasn't. That's why when I had to physically write his name on the board, that's why I remember his name.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure you'll never forget that name.
No. And so when I don't know how else to explain it, or even how more to tell you about what took place without going into more detail
Right. You said you reflected on this throughout the years, obviously. Mm-hmm. How could you not? What's your conclusion?
So there was, the night that it occurred, there was a storm going on. And this is just another little tidbit that I'll share with you. So there was a storm going on. Now, the creepy thing is...
Oh, so we haven't gotten to the creepy thing yet.
Well,
okay.
I think the more creepy thing was that when I first noticed that the elevator was at the floor, those floors are kept shiny, clean.
Yeah.
I mean, you could look at it close enough, probably, and if you look close enough, you could see your own reflection off those floors.
Oh my gosh, no!
And so when I went to the elevator and opened it, and it immediately opened, there was nothing. Yeah, the elevator was on my floor. There was nothing in the elevator, but when I looked down, there were the wet marks of a gurney that had traveled from the elevator to the cooler. But no gurney was found, and there was no retracing track. See, this is another part of the story that was in the story,
right?
But not. I don't really want to go into too much detail on the podcast, but just so you know the gist of what is taking place, there's more to the story than what you might imagine, and there had to be something going on physically that I could no longer see. Mm-hmm. So I have no idea.
What the heck?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, what do you think happened? What How did that happen?
I have no idea. I've reflected on it for years. I have no idea. It's a fun story. Well, fun. It's an interesting story to tell people when you're in a group setting.
Yeah.
And then just let them kind of digest what is that actually what I'm telling you.
I know there's so many pieces of this that I'm thinking about. First of all, that whatever was there could have pushed a button on the elevator. Must have, right?
Had to have
Or
something
controlled
got it
the elevator to make it go on your floor. Had a gurney with presumably this body, Randy, on it. And then pushed into the cooler, placed somehow on the shelf long enough for you to take notice, which I think is interesting. The moment you step out of the door and close the door, body's on the floor, go back in.
Well, it's not only that, but there was a banging from the inside of the cooler. That's
a banging that wasn't the body falling?
That's what, well, so the first time that I thought that the banging was the body falling.
Yeah.
But remember, there was a banging, walked in, no one was on the floor. Closed the door, bang, 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 walked in, the body's now on the floor. So, okay, I got to try and get him back up on the shelf. Close the door because you don't want to lose the cooling.
Right.
Come back in. Now he's standing, but there's a bang, bang, bang after the door's closed.
After he was standing? I didn't know there was a bang after he was standing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How did you bring yourself to go back into that?
It's my job.
Why did you never quit?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think I found it more interesting to work that as the years went by, recognizing what exactly was transpiring in that mortuary. And it was an older mortuary, but it was still well kept, beautiful. I just cannot imagine what kinds of activities were actually taking place. And I don't know why. Why would you do that? What was the purpose of having a knock, 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 open the refrigerator and all of the occurrences taking place within the refrigerator only to find no one?
Right.
No one. Except that X on the
and
the grease board.
Erased
and
I'll
tell you what, the X scared me.
The X scared you more than the disappearing body?
Yes.
Why?
Because that meant someone physically changed the board and I didn't do it. So that either meant the individual that I saw standing or on the floor, whatever the case might have been, did they make the change? Did they just say, quit looking for me? I'm not here.
I'm gone.
X marks the spot. And it's a red X. And I don't know why that keeps ringing in my mind, but the red X. And so it is a story that, it is, truthfully, I've told this story maybe 3 times, this being the 3rd. And every time I tell it, people are just in total, not disarray, total disbelief. Shock, disbelief that it actually could have and did happen. So that's what I say. I tell the story and then I just shut up. And I just let people start talking. And that's what I like, because Coffiners, if you want to conjecture about what took place, I'd love to hear it. If you want to know, if you want to think, if you want to share something with me and say, did you ever think about this? I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
But as of right now, it's one of those experiences that I just look back on and I don't ever try and follow up with anything. I tell the full story and I just stop.
Well, Kaden and I had a conversation earlier this week about how much we think spirits can interact with our realm, I guess I'll put it. Because I know we've talked about a lot of things whether it's a chair swiveling and walking with you.
In these episodes.
Yes, in these episodes, or a hoodie being placed on you or an elevator going up.
Mm-hmm.
But all that is well and good. As much as you can say it's well and good. The thing that I'm stuck on is what happened to the body?
Mm-hmm.
Because you felt the body. He was there. Yeah. It wasn't an illusion.
Nope.
And how was he standing? Because what's even harder than dead weight? Moving dead weight is standing up dead weight. That's true. It's not possible.
It's true.
None of this is possible. So how did it happen?
Okay. I don't know.
It's outside of this world.
And I think it's great that you sit there and say that it's not possible.
And
but I know what was, and you know, because we've talked about this, and I have said, this is one story I don't feel comfortable sharing.
I know.
I don't want to share it.
I know it. And this is one, I apologize. I kind of pushed you to share because
it's okay.
Because it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say
the person telling the story or the story?
Hold on.
Wait, just a minute. What are you saying?
No, we all love you. We all believe you. And the thing is, when I say it's impossible, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying physics should have stopped that.
Yeah, exactly right.
The laws of this world should have stopped that.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%.
And so it just makes you wonder, how much control do spirits have? How much influence do they have? What in the world did this man do during his life?
Think about this, though, too. And I'll just say this. Remember the tracks on the ground from the gurney?
Yeah.
And it was obvious that it was a gurney. There were no footprints.
Oh. Because it was raining outside.
Yeah.
So there would have been footprints.
Absolutely. The individual pulling that gurney out of the car had to have stood in the rain.
Was the body wet?
I don't remember that. Because, wow, Holly, of everything that you've been told, was the body wet? Oh, geez, let me think. Oh, man.
All right.
So, no, that has never made the story. But I'll have to think back. I don't think so. I don't know. I really don't know. Because they would have been covered. It would have been covered with a gurney cover. Oh, so I really can't imagine that body being wet. The cot cover would have covered or would have taken the moisture, not the body.
What? But you never found the gurney.
Well, even if I had found the gurney, there was no track to lead me to a gurney. The gurney tracks came from the cooler or from the elevator to the cooler. Nothing more. And
you didn't even see anything rolling it into the elevator on your floor. It just started there.
It started there.
That's terrifying.
It's terrifying. The more and more I think about it, I don't like the story, but I like the story.
Yeah.
Only because it's one that needs to be told. And I just tell it only because I want people's thoughts. I want to hear what they think.
Yes.
And mainly so that I'm not going to start raving mad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because how do you experience that and think and not think, I'm just going crazy?
I don't know.
But you didn't put the X there. Do you have security cameras in that?
No. And we couldn't because of privacy of the individual that's passed away. So, and that's the one thing I always kept thinking, have we ever thought of putting security up here?
Yeah.
The owners never will. No security on this floor.
Do you think it's because they just don't want to see what's happening?
I don't know. Could be. But they do know that things happen.
Yeah, of
Only
course.
by the way they were talking to me when I first started.
Oh, and here's another question. So you said you did have a supervising embalmer that was a trickster and liked to pull pranks. Did you tell him what happened?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He didn't believe me.
He didn't believe you that it happened?
No.
I guess that's hard,
he just brushed it completely off. He said, Frank, that would never happen. And I said, I should have left those tracks from the gurney. And you could have told me where that gurney went. Yeah. Because if I left the tracks, I had to stay and I cleaned them up. I would have gotten reprimanded the next day had I. Right. Yeah. Why did you clean up the floor? Okay.
Oh my gosh. So the next day you go into the cooler. Was the X still there? Did you erase the X?
I left the X on the board. And I said to my supervising embalmer, how did a red marker get up here? And that's the only way I put it. So the X was still there in the morning. I left it there. And he said, well, I don't think he said, I don't know. And he just, without even thinking, erased it. Took his hand and just wiped the X right off the board.
Oh gosh, I wouldn't have touched that.
I said to him, wow, that's maybe the last bit of evidence I have.
I know.
That's okay. I should have taken a picture. Didn't really have a camera on my phone. Right. At that point. Well, I had the block phone. Remember those? Yeah. Yeah, but yeah. very interesting when you start thinking about everything that occurred there. Man, it almost brings a tear to my eye only thinking about the facts of how it could have turned another way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I could have been put in a perilous situation.
Yeah.
And now that I'm, as you think back on it, you just think, well, why stand? Why? Because it started to move towards the door.
What?
Yes.
It wasn't just standing there.
No.
It started moving.
Yes. Towards the door. And I closed it and I just thought, Ralph, or I just thought, my supervising involvement, this has gone too far.
This is him. It has to be him. There's no other explanation.
But when I went back to my apartment, I thought to myself, hold it. I saw that body on the floor. That wasn't Ralph.
Yeah. Because you had to unwrap it.
Not unwrap. I just exposed the neck, which would expose the face, and then looked at one of his hands, tested his wrist for
clearly
nothing.
Dead.
Clearly.
What?
And even then.
It started moving towards the door?
Even then, if he was not dead, I would have heard that cooler door reopen. I would have heard that elevator door go down. He could not have gotten through my gate.
No.
Without my hearing it, because you hear metal gates.
You hear metal
all
gates.
The time.
Yes.
And so once that happens, there's just no way.
Oh my gosh.
So think about it, Coffiners. What do you think? I'd like to know.
I want to keep talking about this, but I truly don't know what to talk about. Because it's just, I don't know how it could have happened.
I don't know. And I'll keep telling anyone that says that, well, because when I would tell the story, what do you think happened? I have no idea.
Don't know.
I don't know. I'm just telling you the story.
Right. This is what happened.
Yeah. So you tell me what happened.
I guess I just don't understand how it would have I don't know. Because was it him? Was it his spirit that's pushing his body in and made it disappear? Or was he being taken somewhere?
I think he was being taken. I think he came to the wrong place.
So you think the body moved from your facility to a different facility?
Yeah. I do.
Why do you think that?
Because he wasn't there. Why would you come into my facility or the facility I worked at to only make that manifestation only to disappear? It makes no sense to me, excepting for the fact. Now, I have had stories, and we'll talk about this in one of the episodes, where someone appears after the body's been found.
After the body has been found. What do you mean by that?
So if someone dies hiking,
mm-hmm.
and no one knows where he's at, suddenly in my facility, I may see a personage of the individual that was just found by another hiker.
Like the water woman.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. So I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it. I know you're bringing up some great questions and you're giving me some great resolution, but I don't know. I can guess all I want. But the only thing I can think of is that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so he was trying to escape. He was trying to leave. But why in a gurney?
Why in a gurney? Why would you wheel him in? There's that alone makes me think, okay, if he didn't want to be here, he was being taken against his will, sort of thing. And why in the cooler? How did he stand up? How did he start walking?
Popsicle sticks. Oh, I have no idea. Stilts.
Crutches.
I had no idea. The whole thing was, when I told my wife the story, she goes, what?
Yeah.
And I told her more than the story than what we've just told here. But yeah.
Can you still picture that as vividly as it happened?
I could. Right now I'm opening that cooler door and seeing that thing stand right there.
Oh my gosh. How do you live with that?
I don't think about it too much until someone says,
something like this.
Yeah.
Until I say, hey, remember that red egg story? Yeah. We should do that one.
We need to record that one. But now,
great, thanks,
you have to know this, Coffiners. I have put this story off for 3 months easily. Right?
Yes.
And so every time we get to the point where there's got to be an undetermined or unexplained episode,
a spooky, scary story.
Have you thought of the rat X?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I don't really want to do it. Oh, so anyway, that's the point. Oh, fictitious Lisa just walked in. Say hi, Lisa.
Mom, please.
Well, that worked well.
Maybe next time, Coffiners.
Okay. Well, anyway, I would certainly love to know what you think, Coffiners, and please tell us what you overall what you thought of this story. Because
truly, yeah. Out of any that you've told, I would like Coffiners' reactions to this one more than any others. Because, I mean, if you've had an experience like this, like something completely, totally not possible, but happened.
You go back to the free hoodie episode, and that thing exactly happened the way I told it. There's, again, more detail to the story, but it's a story that you look at and think, how could that have happened? Now, really, did that really happen?
Right.
Now you're looking at the same thing here with this one.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, so how did it happen?
Yeah.
What was
happening behind the scenes?
Yeah. I don't know.
And you got the distinct impression I should not be in here right now.
The last time I went in for that body count is checking names again.
Yeah.
I did a count. I did not check names. I just did the count because I did not feel comfortable in there at all. Not at all.
And then you heard another banging, and then you opened the door, and the body was standing.
No, we got you.
No. Yes. So this the body disappeared.
Once the body disappeared, I had to go in and just verify all the other bodies there, make sure that the counts remained the same to the grease board. But that one body was no longer there, and it was taken off my grease board, and the red X was there. And it wasn't a small X. It covered the entire space. So it was not to be missed.
Right.
So, yeah, when it went up there, I go, no. Where did that come from? Because I didn't see it the last time I went in there and the body was no longer there.
Right.
And I looked at the board and go, what the? Because now the name has physically been removed.
Right.
And there's a red X there.
Oh, my gosh.
So leave that as it may. Coffiners, you think about what you want. And please, I would truly love to know what it is you think about this episode.
Yes, please. Let us know what you think. Let's be frank at coffintalkin.com. Or Instagram at Coffin Talkin, YouTube at Coffin Talkin Podcast. Let us know, and we will. I don't even know how to end this.
Well, what we'll do is we'll let the parting music from the podcast lift your spirits once again.
Yeah, get ready.
Thanks, Coffin.
Oh my gosh! Hope you can sleep tonight.
Thanks again.